Good morning. Let's try that again. Good morning. Good morning. All right, that's better. One thing you learn when you work at an HBCU, we expect to be greeted. You know, you can wake up in the morning, you haven't had your coffee yet, you walk by somebody and you don't speak. You don't get away with that on our campus. So when I come into class, I say, good morning, Morgan, and if they're all kind of like, good morning, Morgan, and they understand. So you will get that if you come to visit us, and I hope you will. I want to tell you a little bit about our school before I get into the PowerPoint here. We are only a little more than a year old. We went from a Department of Communication Studies that had telecom and speech communication and some other stuff that didn't even seem remotely related to us, but we were all in one building. And Morgan got a grant from the state of Maryland to create a school of journalism and communications. They had 5 years to create the school, or they'd have to give the money back. In year 4, the school had not yet been created, and a chance meeting on a golf course between Dwayne Wickham, whom many of you know is a columnist for USA Today, and David Wilson, the president of Morgan, led to a meeting in which he asked Dwayne if he could, in a year, create a school of journalism and mass communication. And being a journalist and being used to deadlines, a year seemed like a lot of time, and Dwayne said yes. And so in 8 months, he doubled the size of the faculty. We rewrote the curriculum. And on July 1st of 2013, we launched the School of Global Journalism and Communication, a 3-tiered program that focuses on the curriculum, of course, performance centers where we give our students practical experience, and that's really the heart of this project, because a lot of our students have to work and send themselves to school. And so they don't graduate in the usual 4-year cohort. They tend not to have had external internships, so they don't have a lot of experience when they graduate. And so we had to create a mechanism on campus that would give them live experience, professional experience. And so we have a digital newsroom, we have a public relations agency called the Strategy Shop, and we have real paying clients, and we have Bear TV, which just launched in a couple of weeks ago during homecoming for the production students. And so those things together created some practical experience that they can show. They now have portfolios that they can present when they graduate. And then the research centers, which are in process, which will come over the next year or so, and we'll have an Institute for Advanced Journalism Studies and a Center for Social and Alternative Media and a Center for Knowledge-Based Journalism. So with that, we successfully pitched tonight, thank you very much, an idea for creating alternative delivery systems of news and information to underserved communities. And we started off with WECONNECT You. And the students go out into the communities, they meet with leaders and institutions and residents and learn what's important to people. Think of Patch on steroids. That's what we're trying to do. And our mission is to really take an intimate look at communities and understand what drives them. Where's the news that doesn't get covered? And we had some real problems with that in the beginning. We started off pairing the students with professionals. And what we learned was that a lot of the professionals were stuck in the old school method of teaching reporting and training students. And so they would go out and say, well, this is a story, and they would start creating this story. But it wasn't the story that the people in the neighborhood wanted. And so we had to pull back and say, okay, how are we going to work this? We have to build trust in the community because we're trying to convince people whose neighborhoods don't normally get covered, who are ignored by politicians, they are ignored by policymakers, that we really do care about what happens to them and that we're going to be there. And so that took some time. And our ultimate goal was to deliver all this information on an app. So this is where we started, the digital newsroom. We had a big room with nothing in it. So we had to borrow furniture. I mean, I was a scavenger. We went all over campus and, oh, and nobody's using this room? Can I have this sofa? And so we pulled equipment. One night I was so angry. It was taking so long to get equipment and get furniture, just get furniture to make it look like a newsroom, right? I found some old desks in a room, and I started pulling them out and trying to get it on the dolly, and one of the professors came out and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "If I have to push this inch by inch, I am taking every piece of furniture in this room downstairs." So I'm pulling people, and we're getting on the elevator with all this stuff. Then we're trying to figure out what will it look like when we're done, and we're playing with where it's going to sit up in this, where the bookcases are, the back of the bookcases. We were trying to create this space where we could set up a table and some chairs just to have a conference space. So we really started with nothing, mainly because we had some delays in getting our curriculum approved by the Maryland Higher Education Commission, not because we did anything wrong, we were just backlogged in the cycle. And then we had budgetary red tape. So even though the university very generously gave approved money for us to buy furniture and equipment for the newsroom, getting it released so we could spend it was a problem. And so we had to figure out something. We couldn't just do it and say we were going to do it and do nothing, because we had students waiting and ready to go. So we sat down and created a team strategy for how we were going to go out and work with the students, how we were going to recruit the students, because without the approved curriculum, the courses that would have automatically populated the newsroom had not yet been created. We had to do some research about the communities, which I think was a lot of fun for the students, was getting out there and talking to people even before they wrote a word, just to get a sense of what that was going to be like. And then training. Some students had never done a reporting assignment. We were a weird school before, a weird program before the school was created. Talk about silos. We had, if you were a journalism major, all you did was write. You never touched a piece of equipment. If you were a production major, all you did was work on equipment. You never wrote. And if you were in public relations or advertising, you never talked to any of the other groups anyway. And so we had to correct all of that. So we had students who were juniors and seniors who, to that point, had never held a microphone, had never touched a video camera, some had never written a word, didn't know how to approach people for an interview. So we had to do some real basic training to get them started. And then we had to get smart about what we were doing. And then finally, you couldn't wring your hands anymore, you just had to go out and do it. So that's our faculty and some professionals we brought in to work with us. Some of you might recognize Sandra Long Weaver, who was an editor at the Philadelphia Inquirer for many years, Ron Taylor, who's a longtime journalist. Pia Jordan is one of our faculty members. She's a former broadcaster in Baltimore. And so we brought them together and we had to train them. And so we had to meet with students and sell them on the concept, and then we had to go out to the community and convince them that we were serious. And that picture on the bottom there is a session where people in a neighborhood housing development in Annapolis had conversations about drug problems in their communities. So then we looked at studies and reports and blogs and looked at what other people were doing and listened to people in the community. We started bringing in experts on covering underserved communities. We set up the regular schedules, the meetings, the technical training for the professionals as well as the students. And then we sent our faculty out to get training. I went to see Miranda's operation at Northwestern. I went to the media lab at MIT, just to get a sense of what other people were doing and how they could help me. And as Katie said, people are generous. They really don't mind giving you their time and energy to help you out. And we weren't afraid to fail. We figured the worst that could happen is that we just get up and start over again. And so now we went from that ugly newsroom. We even had a building day. I bought furniture from IKEA, and the faculty came in, and I bought some pizza, and we all put furniture together. We got our equipment, our Apple equipment, and so now we're building a newsroom. We've got cameras, we've got everything ready, and the last picture is launch day when the students came and saw what they were going to be working with. And the excitement and the change in classes has been amazing. The students come in and they're all pumped up, and they really are now excited because we're getting ready for election day on Tuesday, and we're going to go all night until the election ends, and the student newspaper, the digital newsroom, and we've got a new app coming up. So So WeConnect You is what the app is going to be. We're waiting. It's in the queue to in the Apple Store and for Android. So in a couple of days, that should be up and running, and everything we do will be on WeConnect You. And so you can look for it soon, and I'll send out information so you all can take a look when we're done so you can see what it looks like.